Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the North East Non-League Show, sponsored by Beer Watch TV, Sunderland West End, Durham City AFC, Jade Bell, and proud to support If You Care Share Foundation. Back again tonight with another looking back with, and join us now we have Mark Collingwood. Mark, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you for having us. It's really, I'm looking forward to it. To be honest with you, I'm looking forward to it a lot. So thanks for inviting us on.
No pressures, like as well, because I know we've had a few requests to get you on. So must be some good stories coming from you.
Oh well, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what's what. What do you know that I don't?
Start with some of the early days now. 2012, you first joined Seaham Red Star from Heaven. Railroad doing very well there. In comes Simon Johnson, a few players from the club. At that point, doing well up there, were you excited for a new challenge at that time?
I was. I won't lie. I was a bit gutted to leave Heaven Railroads, if I'm being honest. Basically, what happened was when we went to Railroads, was second bottom of the first division of the Alliance. Yeah. I had no sponsor, no one out, and I was asked by the owner of Railroads, Gordon Taylor. He said, "We're going to fold." And I was sort of 27, 28 at the time. I'd wrapped in playing. Can you come and maybe just keep it going at the end of the season? So obviously we went from bottom of the first division to a couple of years' time, sort of like winning the first division, and then winning the sort of county cup, the two cups, and the treble. And I asked Gordon at that point, I says, "Gordon, can we get a ground share with Heaven and go into the Northern League?" Because we had a Northern League side. We looked at all sorts of options, even Moncton Stadium, and we had permission to go to Moncton, but it would have been a tight getting a Northern League standard pitch on that, even though the ground was spot on. And Moncton was on the board of Heaven and Jarrow, and he wasn't too keen on it. So that sort of made me mind up, because I thought, I kind of keep this side that's just won a treble, and finish the runners up behind Heaton Stan. To give anyone, we're going to lose these, and it's just going to be a downward spiral. So obviously that's when the same link come up, because obviously we were winning county cups, Durham trophies, retaining Durham trophies, and that's same was struggling at the time. I got a call saying that the job was available. Would I like to put an expression of interest in? And I'll be honest, I thought same was 100 mile away, if I'm being honest, coming, living in Heaven and coming from Gates, had been a Gateshead lad, but when I done a recce in my car, it was 12 minutes down year 19, and when I was blown away by the A, the pitch, and B, the setup. So got invited for a chat, and me and Simon went down, and that was quite bizarre. It was like seeing from stars in your eyes, where's the Seaham Red Star committee in the lounge, you go in, and all was a chairman at the time, John Macbeth, and he was like either puffing on a vape or having a tab, and I couldn't see none of them. It was just like a plume of smoke, and I was like walking, getting rid of his smoke, and all sat there, like an old 1970s committee, not one had a tie on those. And it wasn't an interview; it was just about a chat, and it was meant to go on for 20 minutes. And I think it was at 7:30. I think I left the bar there at 11 o'clock. We had a really decent night, and was a day later, I got a phone call offering us the position at Seaham. And obviously I went, and the rest is sort of history, to be honest.
Definitely. You see that first season, 2012-13, it was a cracking start. Obviously finishing 10th, and you just mentioned there, obviously your hunger to go from Heaven, obviously doing so well there, to Seaham. After a good season, did then want to just, from yourself and the players, want to push on even more and help that club get even further?
I'll be honest with you. I was full of I was probably full of crap in me chat. I was like, because at the time you had to finish top 10 in the second division to get back in the FA Cup.
Right.
Not like what it is now, where first division teams get in as one or two. If you were in the top 10 of the second division, you are guaranteed a place in the FA Cup. And I was like, I'll get win the FA Cup first year. We'll challenge for the league second year, and I'm thinking, how can I do that? But like, I'm so desperate to sort of come here. But it wasn't a massive jump with the caliber of players I took in, which I'll be honest, it shocked us a little bit, because the Northern League when I went to see him was a proper Northern League. You know what I mean? You had like teams in the first division, like Spennymoor, Dunstan, Darlington, you know, Mask. You had all the big hitters in the first division. In the second division, it was like was very competitive. So I was thinking we're going to struggle next year. But I looked at the record at Seaham, and I seen that they finished, they avoided the drop on the last game of the season. And I thought, I've got to be able to do better than that. And when we went into the last game against Jarrow, knowing a point would let we finish 10th, get we back in the FA Cup, it was probably the most nervous game I've ever managed in my life, because Jarrow had to win that game to get promoted. And we were 3-1 down with 10 men after 20 minutes. And our goalkeeper got sent off. And we drew 3 each. And I got a phone call off Ken Beattie at Morpeth, because that started Morpeth's journey, because that made sure that Morpeth got promoted.
Right.
But obviously, Richie, I think Richie wanted to kill us, you know. I'm jumping up and down because I've achieved what I said I would. And Richie's thinking I'm jumping up and down because I've stopped them going up, which just wasn't the case, you know. I was like, it's got nothing to do with you, Richie. It's win the FA Cup next season. It's massive. We've now been in the FA Cup for years and years and years, you know, so it's a really good achievement. So obviously we were delighted with first season, but we had to crack on. So we've done a 3-year plan, and we says, listen, we need to get this team in the first division. In the second season, I could be wrong, I think we finished 4th. And we missed out on promotion by a point. And that was due to getting 3 points docked for playing.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't registered. So was still in like our hands, to be honest. And we went to Washington last game of the season, and we drew 0-0. But yeah, Daniel Richmond was signed on loan from Shildon, and we thought it was a longer loan than what it actually was, and we got deducted 3 points. So we're just distraught, you know. Put so much work into that season to get 3 points deducted. We sort of 1/3 of the season left, and you're chasing Jarrow, who had probably the biggest budget in the league.
Yeah, definitely.
But we nearly did it. But it just gave us the hunger the following season, you know. It really did. Jarrow went up, and I says, well, we'll win this next year. But obviously, we knew what we needed. Big decisions were made. We had to get rid of players like Shannon North, who had scored 35 goals for us. You know, it was a bit like an Andy Cole situation. We need to get rid of him to progress the club even better, and we did. You know, we signed some top players, Sonny Andrews. You know, we signed Lewis Wing, who's playing for Wigan. Dean Nicholson, who was hated, probably still is, doesn't care. Great lad. And I was warned off him, don't sign him, don't say that. But he was one of my greatest ever signings, Dean. He was fantastic for the football club. Signed Lee Kerr, and we absolutely won the league at a canter, and obviously went into the first division, where we've remained ever since then.
Definitely. See him improving, wasn't it, season by season? It was amazing, wasn't it, really?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was magical. It really was. It was like the club was just on its backside. It was dying, and I couldn't understand why. Because the facilities, the pitch was one of the best pitches in the Northern League, you know. And I'm thinking, why not want to play football here? And it was a culture thing. It was a culture thing. The hardest part of the job from my perspective was going in as a Newcastle fan, if I'm being honest with you. Because, you know, a lot of you are pointing at black and white and all this, and I had to like sort of sit down with like supporters that are watching my ears and explain, you know, listen, man, you know, like it's got nothing to do with now, you know, I'm fully committed here, and I'm not a Steve Bruce, you know what I mean? I'll give everything to get this football club where it deserves to be. And to this day, some aren't convinced, you know, some people aren't convinced with me, but I'm still there. Broke the record of the game, so that's an achievement in itself, you know. So long may it continue, to be fair.
Definitely.
Absolutely love the football club.
Amazing. I mean, going back to that 2013-14 season, you see you finished 4th, missed out with Jarrow by that 1 point of promotion. as a manager and a group of players, like you say, after 42 players and at that level, lads are working all week, coming in, travelling all over the place. But what was it like after that final game in the change rooms? Was some kind of down? Was some kind of saying, right, next season we'll go that one step further? What was it like after that last game?
I'll be brutally honest with you. I remember before the last game, I remember when we got the points deduction, and I remember playing North Shields at home, and North Shields were flying. I mean, absolutely flying. And we beat them 3-0 on a windy day. And Lee Kerr scored 2, and Graham Fenton was going berserk. And I was like, that's like getting them 3 points back, beating them, you know. Yeah. But it wasn't to be. The last game of the season was just disappointment because we should have won that game. But we didn't. And it spurred the lads on. We had a great dressing room, we had a great team spirit. And it was a case of, listen, we need to stick together. We'll come back again. You know, I'll make 1 or 2 additions in the summer and we're going to smash it next season. And we're true to the word, you know. It wasn't an easy start, mind, because I don't think we won in the first 5 or 6 games. The players didn't bed in. There was some bad recruitment by myself. And we had to get rid of 1 or 2 players and press reset after 4 or 5 games. But the irony was we had a new chairman at the time who come in in that summer. And he was looking at me like I was daft, thinking, you said we want to win the league, you said we want to do this, I'm putting that in. And we went on a 16-game unbeaten run. And I remember we getting beat 2-0 at Wrighton and we drew 2-2. And he sacked us after the game, after 16 games undefeated.
Oh, yeah.
And the rest of the committee, I says, all right, right. How does that work like? And I got a phone call about 2 hours later, I was sacked the chairman. The committee sacked the chairman. Aye, and says he's pulled his sponsorship, he's pulled his money, but we can't have him sacking you after that. That's just, it's not fair, you know. So I was sacked for about an hour and a half. And then obviously we went on to absolutely win the league at a canter. To be honest with you, the biggest disappointment from that season was we didn't break the record for points total because we won it with loads of games left, and then we beat Eshwin 13-1 in the FA Vos, and we got beat 3-2 in the league about a fortnight later. You know what I mean?
It's like, how it swings around, isn't it?
Oh, crackers! That's football. That's what it's all about, isn't it? But that was the biggest disappointment, not breaking the points tally. But we would have took winning the league all day in the summer, you know. So it was buzzing. The club was absolutely buzzing. And from top to bottom, it was buzzing. You know, like built a little clubhouse and we had some great players. Players pool, the fine system was amazing. We went to Dublin in the summer on the players pool. 2 nights in Dublin, I didn't spend a penny yet. That's a big ask in Dublin because it's about
definitely,
you know. But that was great. Happy days, happy memories.
No, but great to see a great season. You winning promotion, I think it was by 9 points in the end. But as you said, from when you first came into the team, leading up that promotion, you must have been proud of kind of what yourself, obviously your backroom staff and players, the committee, all working so hard to get promotion. What did it feel like at that time when you finally got that over the line and you just realised it is now go up to Division 1?
It was like a concrete slab off me back. It was like, I'll be dead honest with you, I didn't think I was good enough to do it. I didn't think, I thought something's going to happen. You know, like it's you always fear the worst. I was like, something will happen, yeah. We'll get a points deduction or something stupid, or you know, we'll knack it. 10 games left, we'll crumble to the pressure. But we didn't. We steamrolled teams, and then obviously once we did win the league, then the complacency kicked in because we couldn't give a monkeys. But I'd already won the league. You know what I mean? It was disappointing to like sort of not break the record, but we said what we said we would do. We said 3-year plan, get up, and we achieved that. And when I made that bold statement, when I was having a chat with the lads, I didn't think I would do it. I thought I'd come close to it, but I thought it would take us a year or two just to suss out the league and the players and how teams played. But it went the opposite way. Teams, because I brought that many in from railroads and I tried to integrate them in with the single that's all there when I went. nobody had a clue about any of my players, how they played and what they were all about. And obviously when you just out after a year and you build on that, it was only going to go one way. It was only going to go through the roof, So it was fantastic what we achieved. It really was.
That's great times. Stephen there mentioned, even lads, looking forward to another cracking show. Thank you, Stephen. And everyone that's watching already, almost hitting double figures now, which is amazing. As always on the channel, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe as well to help the channel grow. It really does help us as well. So moving on now to promotion, moving up to Division 1 for the 2015 season. Was it quite a busy summer building? I mean, it's hard, obviously, when you say you've got your group of players that have done so well going up, but you've always got to kind of let a couple go and bring a couple better to help in that league, isn't it? Was it a hard time for yourself building the squad, or quite exciting?
It was tough. It was very tough, because of financial restraints, if I'm being honest. I didn't realise what the gulf was from the second division to the first. And when you hear what they were getting, it seems like Shildon,
Yeah.
I remember when we signed Shildon's captain, Chris McCabe, who later became the assistant manager. When we met him in the pub and he walked out, I went, we've got any chance of getting him. He was on like silly money. And we did get him. He wasn't greedy. He wanted to play for Seaham. He wanted to play for his hometown club. He wanted to captain his hometown club before he because he's in his twilight years, really. But the players I had, I mean, it was a hard slog. I think the budget probably went up a couple of £100, which you'd probably expect if you want to survive. But it was good. We signed Tommy English, another Seaham lad who was again twilight of his career. But what a character, what a player,
cracking player, yeah.
What a left foot. I've never seen a left foot that big in my life, both in and out the boot, because his fingernails were his toenails were fucking horrendous. But what a bloke he was, He had a bad back. He played left back. He played left wing, and he could just change the game with one swing of that one, And we signed him. It meant something to him. Playing for Seaham. Obviously, Chris McCabe. We signed him. We signed Lee Kerr permanent after his loan deal from Shildon. He cost me £500. We signed Sonny. Did we sign Sonny before that? I think Sonny was with us in the first division. Sonny Andrews, and again, great pedigree at Spennymoor. We signed some fantastic players, but we didn't go crazy. We crazy. We never exceeded the allowance that was given. And I'll be honest with you, James, I've never had a budget at Seaham. I've never had a conversation where the lads who run the club went, that's what you've got to spend every week, and you can't exceed that. It's been quite open where, like, saying who you want, the club inside out now, what we can afford.
Exactly.
Don't take the piss. But if I want to go, people don't believe it when I say, if I want to go in tomorrow and sign a £200 striker, I wouldn't say no, but I just wouldn't do it because it would be beyond the club's means.
Exactly.
So, it was exciting, but it was worrying because you're thinking you've got your side, it's just won the first division. What happens now? Do we get the best players cherry picked off because we get offered better deals elsewhere? Will they want more money because we're now a first division club? So there's loads of factors to consider. But like the first thing that my mind was focused on was 35 points. And that does sound like Steve Bruce, by the way, but that's what it was. It was like, can we survive? And can we compete? Can we survive? And we could. We're as good as anything in the league. The only thing I would say was that we played Mask at home and we got beat 7-0.
Right.
Hey, what a night that was. And I was thinking, and that was early on in the season, and I was thinking, Craig, this is going to be a long season, like, you know what I mean? Because but Mask were different level, and then I think we won the next 2 or 3 games after that. But I knew we could compete, even if I had just kept the same sort of 18 players from the season before, because I mean the season before we had a fantastic FA Vars run, like in the promotion season, played teams like Affett and Colliers who hadn't been defeated all season, just about won every game, and we went down to Manchester area and we turned them over, and that was a massive shock, Before obviously we got beat off North Shields in the last 64, I think it was. We come to our place and we beat with 3 or 4-2. We were down to 9 men. So I knew we could compete. I knew we could do it. It was just, did the players believe it? And obviously they did, because the first season was very successful. Back in the first division, it was
great
fantastic.
season, wasn't it? Yeah, like you say, it was not even compete. I mean, I think it was more than staying up. I think you finished ninth at first season, 7 points off 5th place as well. And you just mentioned budget there. It must be nice stepping up and challenging some of the sides. I mean, the likes of Shildon, Mars, Morpeth, who would have that massive budget. That must have been great, not for the players, but for yourself personally, thinking I can actually step up and manage in this league and challenge teams like that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we played Morpeth in the league home and away, and I think we drew at home and beat them away. You know, so I couldn't believe that we could do that. You know, like the side that they had. I mean, I had Mickey Chilton and all that when Mickey Chilton was a little bit younger. Sean Taylor, Russia, you know, players like that, and we played the midweek up there, and I think we beat them. We beat them, and then I know, like me, first season we drew at home, beat them away, and first season in the first division. First season in the first division, we drew away and we beat them 5-2 at home, and I think that was the season when they went on to win the FA Vos. So we knew we could compete with sides, and we knew that we probably wouldn't get relegated, but when you've had the buzz of sort of like having progression season on season, to have such a good season in your first season, it's tough when you don't have a progression your second season. It's a little bit difficult. So, and then you've got to accept reality, and you've got to think, you know what it is. Unless you've got a winning side, your gates are down. Unless you're playing or something, your gates are down. If you change your style of football just to survive, your gates are down. You know, you've got to still try and play a brand of football that people want to come and watch. But it's difficult when it's not a fair fight. When them have had first pick, when they're picking their sides, you know, I'll have him, the best player, and I'll have him. You've got to. That's when you've got to sort of really galvanise your dressing room and make good players and average players think like that. The average players think like they're good players, and the good players think they're superstars. You've got to. That's when you sort of got to get into the players' mentality and us against the world, and that's how I've always managed. I've always managed the way I'd want my players to play, and that's probably why I've got the reputation that I've got, even though I think it's a little bit unfair. And what I say, when I say that, like, you know, people say, "Oh, like, he's a lunatic on the line" and all that. It's not. It's purely. I'm not one of these managers. It comes in and stands like a mannequin in Phoenix Windy.
Yeah.
If my players can see how much I want to win, I like to think that they feed off that and they give an extra 10%. Even though I've calmed down 100% the last couple of years, because obviously I'm getting no younger. Now I'm 46, coming up to 47, and I'm growing up a little bit. I wouldn't change the way I've managed. I wouldn't change me past. I wouldn't change me dressing rooms that I've built, and I wouldn't change the players that I've had in them dressing rooms. You know, it's just, it is what it is. I'd sooner be the way I am than one of these ear-licensed super coaches who are gifted jobs based on their professional past and their qualifications. Certainly not. That's not management. That's football coaching and having access to the best players through the academies. You know, management's all about, in my eyes, about survival and turning, being presented with a bag of sawdust and turning that into a functioning table that works. Unlike these top managers who are presented with a couple of beautiful slabs of oak, big massive budget, and say, go and make an oak table. That's easy. It's when you've got to bond something together and you haven't got the resources of other clubs and you've got to survive year on year. That's what I enjoy about management, because we do it year on year against everyone's predictions, everybody's odds, and we always seem to beat the top teams, and that's what you get the buzz off.
No, it's a passion as well, mate. It's brilliant. Couple of great questions coming in, which we'll go through before we move on as well. Stephen just asking what's involved when assigning a player at this level and what the challenges to do to selling clubs putting in front of you to get that player.
The biggest challenge you've got is obviously convincing him that he's coming to the right football club.
Yes.
And some of the challenges I've faced this summer have been, I've spoken to very, very young players who have got loads of potential, who I know for a fact would develop the same because they would play. And you have your conversations and you sit them down and you think you're there. You think, I've got him. Yeah. And then when you offer him the money that you can afford to offer him, he's getting more in the second division at the club he's at. And when you have the figures, I'm talking, I spoke to one in the summer and I rated him very highly and I didn't get him. He was on 80 quid in the second division. And I was like, I can't give you 80 quid in the first division, but I can give you first division football and you'll play because I know how good you can be. And he knocked us back. Now, I'm not saying it was, I'm not saying what club it was because that would be disrespectful, but I'm thinking, you know what it is? When I was younger, when I was playing, it wasn't about money. It was about playing at the highest standard you could play.
Yeah.
But now, I would say 2/3 of the players that are registered in the Northern League, the better ones I'm on about the lower end ones. All I think about one of the first questions I ask is how much am I gonna get? And as soon as I hear that, I get stomach bile coming through my esophagus and into my mouth. You know, I'm like, yeah, man. Never mind how much you're gonna get. Play in the first division, do well for me, and you'll get double what you're asking for somewhere else. Yeah, I do. You know, you've got to develop. Look at Lewis Wing. You know, we're saying Lewis Wing from Jarrow, and he was on 30 quid at Jarrow. And I remember saying to Davy Coburn, I said, I want to sign Lewis Wing and Dean Nicholson. Dean Nicholson, Lewis Wing, who's here? I says, you know, I have one from Jarrow for the Moppe. 30 quid for that. I went, aye. I says, but I get him, it's going to cost 50 quid daily. And I says, to get Dean, it's going to cost a little bit more than that because he's a Jarrow and he's on good money. And he went with it. And within a fortnight, Lewis Wing was flying. I mean, flying. His debut, him and Dean made their debut with Heaton Stan. And we destroyed Heaton Stan. And it was a top-of-the-table clash. And funny enough, Dean's at Heaton Stan now. And I'll have to mention this story one. He actually scored the winner. And he'd done a knee slide in front of the Heaton Stand dugout. There were hiding all sorts of them. And now he wouldn't even put out a melt in his mouth when he's doing his interviews after the game. He forgets that. I don't know. So there you go, Dean. But no, like Lewis come in on that in the I said to him, I said, you're going to be great. He was fantastic forward. Bit of a wreckhead, typical young kid out on the drink. Didn't mind though because he was turning up, doing the business on the pitch. It was a league-winning season. And then obviously we had the hammer blow when Darlington come in for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, Lewis, you're not going to play. I said, you're not going to play. Well, you know, I'm from Newton Aycliffe, Darlington. So he went to Darlington. Within a month, I got a phone call off his uncle, I'm forgetting his name, who was used to play for Darlington, Brumwell, Phil Brumwell. And Colley's, will you take him back? I says, I'll take him back. I says, but I'll not give him the money that you are giving him. I says, he'll be on what he was on. He come in, he was sensational. And then Spennymoor come in for him. Jason Ainslie rang us and says, I've got some bad news for you. I'm taking Lewis Wing. I went, you're not like. So the promotion season, he went, well, he's not going to not come, is he? So I had to sit down with Lewis. I had to sit down with Lewis's mum and dad. And I said, you've done it once, you've left. I says, for money. I says, you're going to do it again. You're going to get offered a fortune. You're going to get taxed on that. You're going to be playing in the Dootson Cup away at Brighouse on a Tuesday night in the 78th minute coming off the bench. I went, you're not going to get ahead of Keith Graydon. I says, you're going there as a squad player. And you know what it is, he listened to it. And the big thing in that was keeping him at the football club was when we heard what Spenny had offered him. I told the lads, I told the players, and this is how good my dressing room was. Dean Nicholson, who was running my dressing room, really, he was fantastic doing it, doing the players' pool, and he was brilliant. Used to come into the ground, shout fine if you were a minute late, and if you give him any back chat, there's another fiver, any more back chat. And Lewis loved Dean, and he says to the lads, listen, we can't lose, Lewis. And it was about 6 or 7 lads. Says, yeah, I'll give him some of my money. I'll give him some of my money.
Class.
Give him some of my money. And when we've done the calculations, and I'll tell you what the figures were, I says, you get taxed on that, your petrol going your way and everywhere. I says, listen, we'll give you 100 odd quid. I says, and the lads are going to fund it. And his mum and dad couldn't believe it, and he couldn't believe it. So he knocked back Spennymoor. He stayed with us. He won with the league. He was sensational. And look at him now. Because he had went to Spenny, he wouldn't be playing for Wickham Wanderers. He wouldn't be playing football. He would have got second. He stayed with us, and he went to Shildon in the summer. And from Shildon, obviously, he was scouted to go to Middlesbrough. But he went to Shildon, and because he was called L wing, Gary Forrest was playing him left wing.
Right.
Playing him centre midfield, and he was sick. So again, a phone call. Will he take him on loan? Absolutely. First season in the first division, he was brilliant for 2 months. Ran the show. Went back. Was sensational playing in his proper position for Shildon. And it was about 12 weeks later, he got his trial at Borough, and the rest is history.
Class one of us.
I said to his dad, I says, that's because he made the right decision at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the challenges of signing players now is you've got, if they're any good, you've got managers coming in and they're filling their head full of marbles. They're telling the players, listen, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. And it's typical professional coaching patter. They're not genuine in their words. You'll be playing. So as soon as they sign the form on the bench, the biggest challenge is convincing players that Seaham Red Star's the real deal. What you see is what you get. There's no secrets about anything, none whatsoever. We've got an open and honest football club, both back room, committee room and dressing room. And it is what it is. And if you can accept it is what it is, you'll enjoy playing football for Seaham Red Star. And if it can buy into that, and they can come in, and I stick to my word, which I always do, you've got half a chance. A good example of it, and I know he's been injured this season, is probably Adam Lennox. I think he scored 27 goals last season with me, and he was at Jarrow, and we were desperate for a number 9, and people are always not good enough for the first division. Blah, blah, blah. I'm unsure about him. And I'll be honest, I only seen him in a pre-season friendly. I didn't really scout man out. I was just desperate for a number 9. And I met him, and I said, listen, you'll wear me number 9 and you'll play. And if you're not good enough, you need to get yourself good enough, because I'm going to stand by you. I'm not going to drop you after 2 games because you haven't notched. I says, you'll be playing for 9 or 10 games. We'll stick you in, and we'll keep the faith for you. And he had a great pre-season, phenomenal pre-season. And then went into the first game of the season, which was the FA Cup against Crook, and he scored a hat-trick. I think he scored a hat-trick in about half an hour, and the rest was history, 27
goals. Just shows you, man, doesn't it? Class.
And he went, you were right, you were true to your word, what you said, and obviously he's picked up an unfortunate injury, which has ruled him out all of this season to date. So he's got to start again. So I would expect in the summer Adam to give me a little bit back, and hopefully have another season with us, and re-establish his name. Hopefully get back to the levels he was. But we'll see. We'll see. What you give, you don't always get back there.
Oh, that's it. Tony mentioned, great show, lads, as always. Best team that you've played against and best sign that you've made for Seaham, he's asking.
Oh, my God. Best signing I've made for Seaham. Controversial. Great ones. My goalkeeper, Sean Newbrook, who was at Hebburn. He was a great signing of our. Took him into the Northern League. He was playing in the Northern League, helping Jarrow roofing and that out, but I took the scene. He was my railroad goalkeeper. Phenomenal signing, but what had to change his position was Lee Kerr. Took Lee Kerr from Shildon. He was overweight because he wasn't playing. Played him in front of the back four, which is controversial because, as we know, Lee Kerr was a striker. But in front of you, vision on the ball, fantastic. Passing range, professional level. attitude, professional level. So Lee Kerr's up there. We probably won as the league. Again, controversial because everybody told me not to sign him. Said he was just something tougher. And I thought the same at the time, I'll be honest with you. But I knew how good he was as a footballer. I was probably Dean Nicholson again. Good friends with Dean. Speak to Dean quite regular.
Yeah.
Obviously, Lewis Wing. That was a steal, getting him from Taulo. Christ, I've had that many great players, We signed Adam Johnson from Spennymoor Town, the centre forward. He was phenomenal. He was finished. And we'd done a training session pre-season, done his scissor kick. And I was like, we got ya. You know what I mean? And he was like on his twilight, but there's been that many, I mean, it depends what you mean by who's your best signing. I mean, who's the best player, who's been the best to manage, who's the one that's never caused you a minute's grief and never let you down. It's different categories. But I would say definitely they're up there. And Craig Lynch. Got to mention Lynchy. Got him from Durham City, overweight. Got him fit. And what Craig Lynch could do with football is nobody's business. He was a phenomenal player. He could win games of football by himself. I'll never forget the day we signed him. I sent David Copeland to go and sign him because I was at work. And he met him at Durham City's ground. And Chandler was the manager at Durham at the time. And we signed him. He come in, and after about 4 weeks, he was in his levels, and he was taking 4 or 5 people on, going around goalkeepers, scoring left, right, and centre. And I'm thinking, can I keep a hold of him? Dalton were watching him, and we're going to try and get him back sort of at that level. And he could have easily done it. Honestly, he could have easily done it. But we got wind of it third hand. That Dalton was after him. And we heard that they were going to make an approach. So what we done was we played Westlock and Celtic away. And again, David Copeland says, we need to get him on a contract. I was like, Dave, he's not going to sign a contract. I said, he's got Dalton after him, we'll offer him a fortune. He says, all right. I said, I'll ask him. So he got man of the match against Westlock, and I think he scored the winner. Comes in the dressing room, gets changed, comes out, I've got a pint in my hand. Lynchy, have a word. He says, aye. I says, listen, I want to put you on contract. Do you enjoy your football, yeah? So I love it, Collie. You've got his back fit. I've got the buzz back. I says, listen, you're on 70 quid at the minute. I says, if I give you a pay rise, will you sign the contract? And he went, aye. I says, all right, well, go on then. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, how much do you want? He said, well, how much do you afford? And I was taking the piss. I said, I'll give you an extra tenner. He went, you got the contract on you? I can't get it.
Class.
Got him to sign it. Year contract, a year's option. And I went back up to Copeland. He goes, go on then, hit us. How much does that kind of cost us a week? I went 80 quid. He spat his John Smith's all over us. He went, are you kidding me? I says, no. Lynchy was a magician. He really was. And he was a pleasure to manage, Craig. He was a top lad, You're going to be drawn 0-0, getting beat 1-0. Give a ball to Lynchy, and you'd be on the edge of your seat, or even getting beat. He's got to get something out of this game. He was a fantastic player. And once we put him on a contract, the phone calls he had, can you get out of your contract and that? But he was nailed. He was nailed on, So he was up there with him, absolutely, But I've had that many. I've had that many great players. Not just great players, great characters. Players that's never let me down. Too many to mention. I mean, Craigie, I don't know how many years I've done it for now, but it'll certainly be over 10. But like lower levels, Alan Pegram, when I was at Heaven Railroads, I don't know if you know Little Peggers. He was a fantastic player. And then you move up to the same days, Michael McEwen, he was a top player. Then the players I've mentioned, then you go to Jarrow Roofing days in Paul Chow. Chow was nearly 40 probably, and come to train like a 19-year-old, played centre half, centre midfield up front. Phenomenal, just you knew what you were going to get. A pleasure to be around, really, and just such a lovely bloke. But now there's been that many. you'd have to have a longer show if you want us to go through everything. That took out.
No, some really good questions. A couple more coming, which we'll go through later. But just getting back to our questions as well. Just mentioned that the handful of games at the 16-17 season and you leave for Jarrow. And I always remember at the time, obviously, the buzz on social media of Jarrow and players coming in, wanting to be big push. Was it kind of an exciting challenge to leave, seeing to go for that?
Truthfully, no. People assume that I went to Jarrow because I wanted to manage with a big budget. People assumed I wanted to probably get paid for my services because I was a volunteer at Seaham, and that wasn't the case. It was my father-in-law at the time had terminal cancer, and my partner, who I've got a child with, she supported me through my football. I was involved with football when I met her, and she supported me the same days, even though probably being around the lads and having a pint after games and that, I probably let her down a few times, and I'm not coming home. I should have come home. And my dad got terminal cancer, and he was given months to live. And I wasn't given an ultimatum, but she says you need to be here for us. And I went, it'll break my heart, yes. And we were about, we played more games. I think we're 4th or 3rd in the league at the time, and we just played West Auckland and beat them 3-0 away from home. And that's when I had to inform them, listen, and I'm not doing it because I want to. I'm doing it because I've got to be a 2-minute drive away from home in case the worst happens. And Jarrow being located in Bolton was ideal. And Richie asked us, he knew, he got information that I need to be near home, you know, and there was like links with Hebben and what have you. But no, I didn't want to leave. Same, I never wanted to leave.
I bet.
I had an affiliation. I'll never forget, and I'm not ashamed to admit, yes. I remember jumping in my car, leaving West Auckland after I informed them of my decision and why I had to do it. And they fully understood because they knew my father-in-law used to do gigs for them on presentation nights and that. You know? Right. And the committee was really upset about his passing. When he eventually did pass, and they were distraught about his illness. And I'll never forget, and like I said, I'm not ashamed to admit, that's the longest journey, one of the longest journeys I've had in my life, going up from West Auckland back home. I was distraught. I was in bits, if I'm being honest with you. And I know it sounds stupid because it's a Northern League football club. It's not life or death, but it felt like I'd lost somebody when I made the decision. But once I'd made my decision, I stand by it. You know, I'm a man of my word. I promised Richie that I would go in with him, but things had to be on sort of not my terms, but you had to like sort of give me the fair crack of a whip with the terms, because we all know Richie's a very strong character, and he knew what I was giving up, and he was great, to be honest with you. Went in and I enjoyed my time there. I did enjoy my time there. I enjoyed it there for the time I went until the end of the season. But the last season, when the season before they folded, it wasn't enjoyable at all. You know, it was awful, to be honest. But there was reasons behind that. But yeah, I mean, listen, once I was sort of like, I seen the big buzz on social media, and I said, what's this big buzz about? I'm not Ayatollah or now, you know, blah blah blah. But it was exciting because Richie
definitely was.
Richie took a back seat. He just says, listen, I'm getting too old. You know, and people warned us and says, listen, Richie said yes numerous times, you get the buzz back. And I went, well, if he does, you know, he's given us his word. And he did. He took a back seat. He let us do what I want. I took players there like Ethan Wood, who now plays on Newton Aycliffe. We took him from Hartlepool United. Lewis Walden from Darlington Reserves in the Weir side. I signed him. Ollie Martin, who's at Hebben now. I signed him for 30 quid from Hebben under 18s or Hebben Town Reserves or something, you know. And I introduced all these sort of good, young, up-and-coming players. And we finished third bottom when I went, and we finished above Seaham. Then we finished 11th and then finished 12th, which was a massive achievement because I'd left the team fourth top. And we beat Seaham 3-0, which was a weird night. That I don't know how I felt about that night, and I was a bit gutted. I was like, hope it's a draw, but we've done really well. And then in the summer, I had a list of players I wanted to bring in. Yeah, it just never materialised. You know, things were getting done. It shouldn't have been getting done, and the big factor was that summer. After we're sort of like finished mid-table, I was at Wembley with my son watching South Shields against Cleethorpes, and my dad passed away when I was actually at Wembley. Then that was in the summer, end of the season, the FA Awards final. Then when I come back, my mum passed away 22 days later.
God.
So I'll never forget, she passed away on a midweek, Tuesday, and she passed away at 4 o'clock. And I took the training session at 5:30. And I never said a word, you know, and never told a soul, just got on with it. And I remember just like sitting in the dugout, and it was a really bad time on me mentally. I just couldn't. I had no fightness. If that hadn't happened, losing 2 parents within the space of 22 days, I would have told Richie to fuck off. Or I says, no, you're not getting involved. You're pissing everybody off, you know. Well, coming last season, I've reduced your budget, which was ridiculous. Now you're bringing these back in on stupid money because you're shitting yourself that you're going to get relegated. You're not going to get relegated. Put your money away, enjoy the football, and just let us get on with it. But I just didn't have a fightness, James. I was just flat as a fort. I was probably grieving, if I'm being honest with you, know. And players come in, players didn't train. Players took the piss, if I'm being honest with you, and it was the highest paid players that took the piss. It wasn't the ones that wanted to play, it was the ones that were gifted games on their reputation.
Yeah.
And that's what fucked Richie, if I'm being honest with you. Playing players because they'd done this and done that. Great players. He had some fantastic players. And I remember listening to your show you a week with Deva. And I've got no axe to grind with Deva whatsoever. You know, I wanted Deva to stay at the football club when I went in. But that wasn't my doing. Richie approached me and asked me to go in. And I says, I didn't want to step on anybody's toes. And then he was telling us what's what, as he used to put it. Tell us what's what. And when I seen what the players were getting, I was like, what the fuck? What are you doing? You know what I mean? This is ridiculous, you know? And he's like, oh, well, I heard Dave brought Peter Laven in, John Campbell, Michael Mackay. Fucking hell. If I tell you what them players were on, Gossip Bohemians, would have signed my Gossip Bohemians for the money that they were getting. So it was no major coup getting them in.
Yeah.
They just paid stupid money. I'll never forget. I love the kid to bits, Michael Mackay going through on goal, 1-on-1. And I think it was Adam Saka coming. And all he had to do was square the ball and put it in. And Michael went for a goal. And Richie, they done it again. And then like a couple of games later, and I'm scratching my head. Done it with Chowie as well. And then Richie had a few pints. It's because he's on a goal bonus. I'm like, hang on, you're paying him X amount of pounds to score goals. And you're paying him on top of his wages to do a job that you're paying him for. That's just not a team player, mate. You know? He's after an extra 20 quid. So he'd take his last up with tuna and wine and diner, you know? I was like, scrap all your shit, man, you know? But I haven't got like a bad thing to say about the man. He was football through and through. He put his life, heart and soul into it. That football club was a family football club. Janice was amazing woman. She was an amazing woman. Richie was an amazing man. He was just obsessed with winning, and it didn't at any cost. You know what I mean? At any cost, and you can't build a football team around that. I'll go back to the training what I mentioned. You know, or you train on like a sports hall. You're a first division normally team. You train a fucking sports hall. You know, we're like a PE hall, and some players aren't coming, you know, and he's like, oh, well, or they're coming late, you know, and they're stinking the drink, and I'm like, nah, it's not for me. It wouldn't if it was my football club, that wouldn't happen. Like, I wouldn't I wouldn't put up with anybody sort of taking the piss like that. You know what I mean? It's disrespectful to Richie. That's what hurt us the most, because I seen how much he was hurting, and I seen how much of the squad were taking the piss. And I was like, "You're taking the piss out of this bloke, man. You do out for you." You know what I mean? And obviously, we knew that Richie was the don of Jarrow Roofing. It didn't matter what authority I tried to stamp, but just going crying to Richie, you know. So I thought, this is no good, and obviously it was heartbreaking for the club to fold. If I'm being honest, it was very sad, but I think Richie got out at the right time, and I think if we had a conversation with Richie McLaughlin now, he would say he should have done it years ago.
Mm.
You know, he's not getting any younger. But I'll tell you a story about Richie. This is a belter. We played Penrith away, right? And at the time, I had a semi-detached house, and it had, like, you know, I forget what they call it, like a bay window.
Yes, yeah.
Upstairs, and we had a bit of a leak in the top bay window. I said, Richie, I've got a leak in my top bay window. He went, all right, aye. Well, I'm too busy. You know, I said, well, just let us know what you want. We'll square off, you know, what mates rates. Aye. So went to Penrith, we won 3 out, and Richie's buzzing. Write down your address on there. So I went on Penrith at 1:30 in the morning, you know, and I'm off the next day. I've took the day off. And 6 o'clock in the morning, I has somebody on the bay window, on the roof, people walking around. So fuck, being burgled, you know. So I jumped out of bed, got a roof and tracksuit back on, you know. And goes downstairs, you know, and I goes out, and there's a Jarrow roofing van. And there's Richie ripping me roof off with a blow lamp. What you doing? He goes, oh, I'm in a good mood because I won last night. He said, I'll do your roof. I went, well, how much? He went, don't worry about it. You know,
Class.
So he done my roof on. I was like, I've got to give you something. He went, cup of tea and a biscuit. And that's the sort of bloke he was, you know. He was a phenomenal football man who I've got nothing but respect for. But like I say, I think he was probably too easy guided by people who were guiding him.
Yeah. Getting on obviously the Seaham at that point, obviously 17, 18, they had a little poor season, obviously managers resign, players leave. Yourself, as you mentioned, at Jarrow Roofing and at personal times as well, you rejoined Seaham in that summer of 2018. At that point, obviously, what's going on the last few seasons, did you feel like that was almost like a homecoming, coming back to Seaham at that point? Happy memories of getting back there?
It was hell on. What happened was, Taj, who I recommended, who's my mate, you know, I've not spoken to him in a while, but like I've never fell out with Chris McCabe. You know, I signed him as a player, I appointed him as assistant manager, and great player, you know, fantastic player. I said, listen, I've got to go to Jarrow Roofing. I'll give a job to Taj, you know. I says, he knows the dressing room, knows the players. And they did. I had a conversation the next day and they gave him a job, and I wished him all the best. But it seems a funny little place, you know. People didn't know the story behind me leaving.
Mm-hmm.
People don't know. This is probably the first time I've really opened up about it.
Yeah.
So they assumed I went there because I was a greedy bastard, but I'm certainly not. You know, that's never took a penny from Richie, from football. At that time, you know, I was just like doing it because it was me release from life, me hobby, me passion. So when Taj resigned, and I think Taj was expecting us back, but he didn't. He went, no, you've threatened us a couple of times. Like, that's it. We can't be like living on eggshells, you know. And it was tough times for Taj, you know, because he didn't have much money. He done all right. He done a good job his first year, you know, but like only as good as what you can get into the football club, really. And he left, and they gave Lynchy the job, Craig Lynch, another player who was signed. And it just didn't work, did it? I mean, they were hopeless. I'm being honest with you. They were whipping boys. Couldn't get a side out. A mask one night. I think it was the story that I heard. Which shocked us because then she was a nice bloke. But it surprised me how he's developed, because Lynchy wouldn't say boo to a goose. When I managed him, he couldn't even look you in the eye, if I'm being honest with you. Lovely kid, just agreed with everything he said. And then he got the job and didn't do very well, but there was reasons behind that. So I'm not dissing the job he done. There was reasons behind that. And then obviously he left. I don't know if he resigned, if he was sacked. I don't know. I'm not interested. No, couldn't give a monkeys in the summer. He's obviously at Morpeth now, doing very well. I wish him all the best in that. He's obviously evolved in management, which is great to see. Because, like I say, he's a top lad. And then I got the call. Off Davy Copeland again. Coming down to watch me see him against Dunstan. I went down, and Taj was there. We had a pint, and then Copey pulled us. He says, "Listen," he says, he said to me, "They 1-on-1. Would you come back at the end of the season? I've heard rumours that Jarrow might be folding this, that, and t'other." And I went, "I would straight away. I should never have left. Blah blah blah. My circumstances have now changed." You know, I said, but like, you know, my dad says never go back, but like I felt like I had unfinished.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And then I had a pint with Taj, and I says to Taj, "Listen, mate, will you come back in with us?" And we shook hands on it in the clubhouse. And then I got appointed, and it was just, well, what about Taj? I was like, well, it's supposed to be coming in with us, you know. And then you get all the Seaham keyboard warriors giving it the big one, you know, who don't know about anybody's circumstances, going on Twitter, yes, something tough, bad mouthing us, slagging us, left for Jarrow and for you something tough when they didn't know what they were saying. And you know how it is, James, actions you can forgive, but words you can never forget.
Aye, yeah.
And some of the shit that was written about me at Jarrow and done this and done that, he's went to Feather's Nest and all that, was a load of shit. And because I live a private life, because I'm a private person, people didn't realise what I was going through, like, sort of like up here. Obviously, lost my sister a few years earlier, leukemia, and I've lost me mum and dad, I've lost my father-in-law, you know, in a short space of time. But people just didn't think before they spoke. And it really, really sort of hurt us. I was fucking fuming, if I'm being honest with you. I was so angry. And I'll never forget, I had a meeting with the squad when Lynchy left, and there was a few good players there. And I thought, I'm building on this. And we don't want to sign by you when I was ringing them. Why? Because your football's shit. You play long ball football. And I was like, fuck. Who's telling you this crap?
Yeah.
You know, yes, you're that. And I was just like, so it was like quite a poisonous atmosphere. Me going back. It was like, well, this one said that and blah, blah. And I'm just like, oh, like schoolyard stuff, you know?
Aye.
So I thought, bollocks. What I need to do is I need to take a hit on the chin, and we need to have a shit season in terms of we need to rip it up, and we need to start again. And I'll build it again. And if it takes us 5-6 years, I'll establish this. If it takes relegation, I'll establish this club in the first division again, you know? And I will. And that drove us, the hate drove us to do it. And I'll be honest, we were lucky. We were lucky that we stayed up. We had a really bad season. And we got John McDonnell got the sack. Sorry, he didn't get the sack. He got Blythe went bust. So he was a free manager. And I said, John, do you want to come in? Get you out the house on a Saturday. He went, yeah, I would love to. It's a good challenge. And obviously with John come a few of the Blythe Town players who were top of the league when they went bust. Mickey Chilton, what a player. David Robinson, Gilly, Chris Bannon, the goalkeeper. He brought about 6 or 7 in. Sean Matt Roberts, and we survived relegation, you know. It was phenomenal. But it was tough. It's always been a tough gig, it seemed, you know. But it's took probably until last summer to get rid of that cloud that was hanging over us. Yes, and never. You know what I mean? But like I say, like words hurt me more than actions. You know, you can never take back your words, but you can become a better person. But one or two people from the local area where I manage let ourselves down massively, which was very disappointing.
No, it is, like I say, it's uncalled for at times. It is. I mean, you mentioned that 2018-19 season, obviously building a new side, competing with the likes of, again, the teams in there. You got Dunstan, Heaven, Bishop, Concert, Shildon, all putting the budgets in as well. You survive, and then obviously along comes COVID. And I always ask players, managers, chairmen that we've had on as well. That spell, obviously, we've been on speaking about for about an hour now, and you can tell the passion, the love for the game. How hard was that time between COVID of not being on the touchline, building a squad? What was it like for that period for yourself?
It was business as normal at first, We're like still saying with players because we just wanted to act normal, to be honest. Like, and I'll be double straight with you. I couldn't give a monkeys, We're still trained. We're still out of paint. We're still out of paint somewhere. You know what I mean? If we didn't have a paint, but obviously within the guidelines, But I would say that. But like. Because if you don't, you'd crack up. You're stuck. You're stuck in your house, your flat, your apartment, and you're by yourself. And if you're not by yourself, you're encased with your family. And as much as people love our families, people need that release as well. And football's like a drug. And if you take that away, you suffer a little bit. And it was really, really tough. It was just you didn't know what was going on. We had contracted players. And what he's on getting paid because it was no income, was no to go out, It's as simple as that. And they were fine about it. I totally understood, but it was a very, very dark period, if I'm being honest. And the training sessions were quite surreal. You were like doing social distance training sessions, I remember.
Aye.
And like sitting in a pub having a pint with a mask on and all this shit. And I'll never forget, like, I can't come to train today because I've got a vulnerable nana. And it's just a modern world, But no, it was really, really tough. And I won't lie, it did affect us. Of course it did, because it's your release from real life. Your football time's your release from real life. Luckily, I was working because I work on the railway, so the railway was still operational. So I got to see people, but nights out, Sunday afternoons in the club, playing bingo with your mates, watching Super Sunday. Nout comes near being in a dressing room with 16, 17 people who you would do anything for. Nothing comes close.
Oh, definitely.
Nothing comes close. You know what I mean? I cannot wait, man, to get just walk in dressing rooms. I go in the dressing room and sometimes I can't even look at them after a heavy defeat, But like I sure get out my huff and we'll just buy my paint, have a paint, have a bit of crack. And I've had to like say yes to players in the past. Why do you take us up and down? Like, it's not personal, It's football. It's just a decision I made, man. Off, get the beers in, man. Big thing, But like Nout replaces your football days. And I see this to the lads all the time. I'm saying, he's like coming and he's on putting you all in the day, or if you're not intent on putting you all in the day, just remember in 10 years when you're stuck in the house where you're crying then you've got to go into Asda, you've got to go and see the mother loan, you've got to cut a loan and gloss our skirting boards. Just remember these days, because very short, so just remember, because that's what you want to be thinking of when you're glossing a skirting board, sitting, laughing, chuckling away at yourself, you know what I mean? And I think they get it, I do think they get it. But it's a short rain football. Say 1 minute, it's gone the next.
Oh, it's class, man. And you mentioned obviously the COVID season, and then coming back from that. I mean, that must have been a great, obviously finishing 10th last season and being able to play the full season, everything. That must have been good coming back, like you say, after the COVID season, after the Jarrow and everything, kind of building that squad. Then COVID hit. That must have been nice coming back and doing as well as you did in Division 1.
Unreal. Again, got my best players picked off. You're sat in Tobias, club comes in, more money. But like I had a plan, and I had the faith back. We lost Chris Bannon to Whitley Bay. I went out and signed Andy Jennison. Centre halves went. I went and got Max Nelson from Sunderland West End, young kid, 20 years old. I went and got a Jordan Patterson from Benfield. I'm trying to went and got Danny Seah from Heaton. I just signed young, hungry players. We've got Lennox. We've got Louis Anderson from Brighton and Crowcrook. We signed Joshua Baggs on his release from Sunderland halfway through the season, who's now at Concert. Concert nicked him. Liam Haywood. Thomas Bott, who's a character, good player. Mark Robinson, who was the snowball that started the Avalanche. Box-to-box midfielder. We just signed young, hungry players, and we had a plan. We just said we're going to put these lads in. We promised we're going to stick by them. We promised they're going to play, and we'll learn. And obviously, we didn't have a great start to the season, but as the season went on, we just got stronger and stronger and stronger. Then I went out and got a little bit of experience in with Darryl Donnelly from Jarrow, who's played for us for years, and I knew would do a fantastic job for it. And then you just build it, you just keep building and building and building it. The dressing room's good because they're green as grass. They're young kids, they like the crack. I've never heard the jokes before. And we're really bought into it, and they want to develop. And obviously, we've kept the lion's share. We've lost a few. Obviously, we've lost Joshua Baggs to Concert. We lost Louis Anderson to Heaton Stan. Liam Haywood to injury. Adam Lennox to injury. If I'd have kept Baggsy, if Haywood was fit, Lennox was fit, when I kept Louis Anderson, we'd be in the top 4 now. That's how fine the margins are, but we didn't, and we were unlucky with injuries. So finishing 10th, obviously going back to a opening statement where it was all about progression, it's been a bit of a kick in the teeth where we are at the minute.
Yeah, I bet.
That's my fault. It's players got to shoulder some of the blame, but it's probably my fault because in the summer, the time frames I was given for number 9, Lennox were fake. He got told that he would be fit for the start of the season, so I didn't recruit. Went the season with no striker. Pre-season schedule, I wasn't hard enough. I went a little bit soft. We didn't train as hard as we should have pre-season. Pre-season friendlies were a disaster. Haywood was, again, be fit for the start of the season. He wasn't. And I shouldn't have took their word on it. It wasn't their fault. I should have went out and I should have replaced them. And then about a week before the season started, it was Louis Anderson to Heaton, which was a hammer blow, really. And then all the players have signed for clubs and given their word, so you're going into the season up prepared.
Yeah, hard.
Oh, solid. Playing centre halves, midfielders up front and all that, and as the season goes on, you pick up 1 or 2 points, you're doing well. And then it went on all the way through to a couple of months ago until we signed Bradley Chisholm from Washington, and he gave a little bit of a different dimension in number 9. And then we start getting players back, and because you win a couple of games, you get a little bit of confidence back, and before you know it, you're on a roll. And other than the first game of the season at Ashington, where we got humiliated 6-0, and it was men against boys, nobody's battered us this season. With every game we've lost has been by a single goal, 9 times out of 10. And some of the wins we've had, Gisborough,
some cracking wins, really good wins.
We've had some really good ones, but it's just a shame that we didn't go into this season with the same fit squad as what we finished last season with, because we'll be top 4, easy top 4. But it's same. People see us as the feeding ground of the Lions, like Baggsy got released by Sunderland. Joshua Baggs comes in with us, fantastic, blah blah blah, and then Concert coming off him a king's ransom to go and play a league higher for more money. What's he going to do? He hasn't got a great job, I know, but he's going to go,
Right.
Might like it, might like what he's leading because he was loved at our club, but it's always been the same. But it is, James, we'll survive. And I don't get down about it. It just motivates us. I think, all right, we've lost him. I'll get the next Joshua Baggs. I'll go and find him. We've lost Lewis Wing. We're going to get the next best thing, And we've done that consistently. Like, the average age of my squad's probably 23.
Yeah.
And some of them get coppers, some of them are well looked after. manage whatever it is to manage. But one thing's for certain, we're all in it together, and we mightn't win every game, but it's not for the one to try. And it's a collective effort. I've got fantastic backroom team: Tony Robinson, Barkas, Andrew Barkley, and we've got Michael Johnson. I've got a fantastic committee, although it's aging and small. They're there, we've got a fantastic setup for the level we play at, and everything's got like a structure and a plan. And what we need to do now is how do we bounce back from this poor season? How can we finish the season on a stronger note?
Yeah,
the season's not dead. We've got a semi-final to play. You know what I mean? We've got Hebburn or Wickham in the Durham Challenge Cup in the semi-final, which in itself, for a club of our size, getting to a semi-final is a massive achievement. But don't discount we're out of that, because whoever will play, we'll certainly give them a game. Trust us.
Oh, that's it. Could be the season starter, definitely. Before we get on our final part, which is our quick fire round, just a couple more questions that came in between as well. Niall, thank you for watching again. Everyone that's been watching all night, hitting double figures pretty much all night as well. Really appreciate your support. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button as well. Tony's just asking, what's your opinion on the quality of the Northern League now compared to 5 years ago?
It went back dramatically. The team that I had that won the second division would walk the first division now.
Mm-hmm.
That's how far it went back. And people probably say, well, you're a shite. Sean Newbrook, Darren Ray, Ryan Burton, Chris McCabe, Carl Thorpe, Davy Palmer, Dean Nicholson, Lee Kerr, Lewis Wing, Liam McBride, Sonny Andrews. That's where you Darryl Donnelly's, your Tommy English's, players of that ilk. You know what I mean? Like I've missed players off. On the Liverpool side, and it would certainly challenge.
Yeah,
His walk. It's probably a too bold a statement, you know, but it would certainly be up there. It would. It's went back so much. The biggest shock is, I mean, you look at the first division 10 years ago when you had West Auckland, all them sort of teams. Dunstan, Whitley Bay were a force. Let's not discount Whitley Bay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I shouldn't want to force, you know. Mark Walden and that playing for them. I used to be addicted to going to watch first division games. I used to ground hop and a couple of pints, half time, Bovril before the game, and I was blown away by it. I was like a kid looking at like a superstar, you know. I was like, oh,
yeah,
I want to be in amongst this, you know what I mean? And obviously the pyramid system is. I mean, Spenny could have went up 5 years before we did. He didn't want to. We wanted to win the balls, you know. I was quite happy floating around, and when they were forced to go up, then I had to pull our finger out. But Darlington, Spenny, Dunstan, Mask, Consett, Asherton. I wish I had a league table in front of us more.
Aye.
Okay. He's seen that league. It's probably on a. I think the first division 10 years ago, here's a bold statement for you, was as good as what the League South Shoes are playing in now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's how good it was. And people probably say, no, it's a shame, man. I'll back it up. I remember West Auckland playing Hednesford Town in the FA Cup. And I think we took them to replay before they obviously fingered, you know, and I was like, look at that. You know, it has declined, and it's declined because of the pyramid system, which has been put in where you've got to take promotions, even though probably you don't want to. You know, but rightly or wrongly, it is what it is, isn't it? You know, you had these teams probably playing in the Northern League who were winning it unfairly because they were too good for the Northern League. So the Northern League fair, but it's football's definitely went back, and that's why. Going back when you're on about signing players, that's why I get so pissed off at times. I'm like, fuck me, man. You know what I mean? 10 years ago, you wouldn't get a game in the Northern Alliance second division. Mm-hmm. You know? But it is what it is, you know? That's why we love it. That's why everyone's striving at the minute to get out the Northern League. because they want them days back, you know. But one thing that's unique about the Northern League, the people always watch it. You get better crowds
I love it, don't
than what you do in the league above.
Yeah.
You get your families, you get your away crowds. And I remember saying this to Heben, you know, Colin and that, and the lads that run the show there. We need to get out of the Northern League. It's fucking shady. Well, you're telling me you run the business. If you run the business, you're going to be taking less money but paying more out, because you're not going to get the likes of, I don't know, like, who's got a decent, like sort of like an Ashton or something coming. You're going to get Brighouse, who are going to bring 2 committee men and the tea lady on the bus, you know, and they're going to shoot straight off after the match. At least when you won the Northern League, you'd play no shields. You were guaranteed 400 people at your game. Probably if you played them at home, you're guaranteed 150 to come down the A90.
Yeah.
You know, and it was good revenue. And every game was local, so you were guaranteed the crowds. Who's going to go into Brighouse on a Tuesday night to watch that team play?
It's crazy, isn't it? Like some of the travelling that it was back then.
Well, look at it now. I mean, Heben are playing Grantham Town on the 4th of Feb. Grantham?
What's it called? The East North as well. It's crazy how it's worked out, one, isn't it?
I said, where you playing Grantham, as in south of Doncaster, as in, yeah, you've got to go to Peterborough to get a train from Peterborough back to Grantham, because there's not many trains stopping in Grantham. Yeah, I went, that's fucking ridiculous. You don't get back and
crazy.
I was like, it's mental. It's a lot of shit. That's what it is.
Stephen's asking as well. I know we touched on it earlier. How supportive is it of the club committee in regards to bringing players in, which is quite good, because I know we've had a couple of chairmans on, Ashton and Bishop Bortland, so it's really nice to hear both parts of the story on this question.
Chairman, fucking hell. Well, what I'll tell you how we do it, team. Right, I'm not one of these arseholes who. I'll tell you what. I'll meet you for a coffee, and then we'll have a chat. I'll just say, come to the ground. I'll show you around. We'll go in the clubhouse. I'll introduce you to the committee, the chairman, the secretary. We'll have a pint. We'll have a bit crack, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah.
And straight away, that welcome. You know what I mean? They're coming. That welcome. I'll tell you about that, right? I'm sorry for keeping you on long on what you wanted to be on. It was a player last season. I'm going to name him because I think it's important that I do name him. There's a player currently plays for son-in-law here called Mickey Cahoon or something. He's a winger. And I would really want to sign him from he's playing with Whitley Bay, fast as out centre forward. So I says, come down. I says, blah, 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 right? So he come down, right? I got him a couple of pints. He's on the pitch doing kickies up and all that, right? I says, oh, man, just get the form signed. I says, there's your top. So he takes his top off, ripping the bits, puts his top on. I says, try the tracksuit top on. So he puts that on. He's got the tracksuit pants on. But I'm like, I says, there's my new kit. You know, got the best kit in the league. Bother colours. Oh, mint, mate, mint. I said, I want you to play down the middle for us, running behind. So him and his mates there, gives him another pint. The supporters are watching some football game on the thingy. We've got them up. We haven't got many, but we've got about 30 hardcore, you know, and they're having a pint, you know. Who's just got it? I says, it's hopefully my new centre forward. Got him on his king's chair, on his neck, you know, and he's loving it, you know. He's getting more and more pints down him. Goes on the pitch and he's blasting the ball from like the 18-yard box, doing a crossbar challenge with supporters. I'll definitely sign by you. I'm done, you know. So take my gear off until it's signed. I just need to speak to people. Next day, sign my son-in-law. He was 5 pints, a little shit. But chairmen are important, because if you go into a room and you see a chairman in a shirt and tie at our level, I think it's quite intimidating for a young player. Mm-hmm. I think it's like going for a job interview, and it really, you know, what you want is you want to feel relaxed in the environment where you're going. You want to feel like wanted. You want to feel like he's a normal bloke.
Yeah.
So of course I've got a role to play. I mean, like going back to my chairman, I was telling you about it, trying to sack us. Fuck me, every player I met here had to be there, and I would have had better players again if he wasn't there. They probably walked out and went, I would sign for you, but I'm not playing for that bell end. You know what I mean? So my committee don't get involved unless they've got to. You know, I do negotiations. I sell the club. And if I've got any doubts about the club, I get them down and I make sure the lads are there and welcome them, you know. So we have got an active role to play, but it depends at what club. If you're a club that's got sort of like youth sections and structure and big stadium at Bishop Auckland and Ashton, would probably play a big role, if I'm being honest. But
Yeah.
if you're in a football club like ourselves, we just get on with it. You know, we are, like I said, James, we are what we are.
Exactly.
And I wouldn't change it. And why should a chairman get involved? You know, I look at Everton now. Chairman's got 2 involved in Everton, and look at the mess it is. You know, it's no, I wouldn't have the chairman telling me who I should sign, who I shouldn't sign. If he wants to do that, he needs to go and get a new manager. It's as simple as that.
Definitely not, isn't it?
We do, the management team do the negotiations. We identify a player, try to watch him as much as we can, put 7 days in, get them down, try and sell the club, and if it's a no, it's a no. Move on.
You can only give what you can. That's it, isn't it? Definitely.
Right, correct.
Definitely.
You cannot ride 2 horses with 1 horse. Is it the old saying I use? You cannot like have 2 opinions doing the same job. Simple as that.
Definitely. And finally, finishing off with our quick fire round, which I think everyone loves this part now. It's 5 questions, a little bit different night. Obviously, the manager on as well. So number 1. The best player, which we've kind of gone through already, was your question, but the best player that you've worked with so far, who's the player that would always just put 110% in, turn up for training, graft his ass off? Who is that one player out of the many?
Dean, I would probably have to say, because Lewis Ring was a crap trainer. Didn't train when he felt like it, you know. Lee Kerr, his work commitments, so probably restricted him. Lynchy was a talent, but like had to wrap him up in cotton wool. Probably Dean Nicholson. He come into the club and he ran the dressing room, and he loved his training. He loved the work that he done, you know. He was a pleasure to manage, and people like, oh, you're not able to manage him, you know. You do this, you do that. He never caused me 1 minute's bother, and it was heartbreaking after we won the league, because he's never played since. And we put him on a contract in the summer after we won the league. That's how important he was. And he'd done his ACL in a pre-season friendly against. He's never kicked the ball since. You know, because he was a big character in my football team. He done he done wonders for me, and he had me back. You know, and as a player, as a manager, you need a couple of players to have your back. You know, and he was spot on. And he left winger. Played him front the back 4, played him right, play him anyway. He'll do a job for you. You know what I mean? Loved him as a player, and ran that dressing room. Very, very good. You know, very good.
Great answer then. But no, number 2, best opposition manager that you've came up against over the years.
From a football sense, from a football point of view, I didn't like them all. I'll be honest with you. I'll tell you straight. Some of them I cannot stand. But Graham Fenton was up there. Graham Fenton done a fantastic job at North Shields. Up his own horse at times, which is probably controversial, but it is. You know, but I respect the bloke. Got a lot of time for him. Didn't get the love that he had at North Shields. Bearing in mind all the North Shields fans were Newcastle fans, and he stopped winning the league. But just didn't get that, you know. But no, he done really well, you know. He took over there, and he done well. Done a good job there. Won the Vos, you know, and he's obviously went to South Shields, done a great job there. Even though I didn't agree with the circumstances of him going to South Shields, because John King was sort of stabbed a little bit. But Graham, football manager, good, done good jobs. Nicky Gray, always done a good job wherever he's been, you know. One that's obsessed with football from a footballing sense, and I learned this last season when we played concert in the first game of the season, was Terry Mitchell. Terry's, we beat with 3-1 in the league, and it was hoying it down with rain outside, and I goes, where's Terry? So we went have a pint. And he was doing a training session after the match, after he's talked to the players after we beat with 3-1, done a full training session for about 45 minutes with players that weren't in the squad. Now I'm going to see, that's fucking real. He's not going to pay, you know? And he's like this all the time. And I remember speaking to Kyle Haynes about him. He's like, Collie, he's just obsessed with football, you know. And from a football point of view, if you want to get a book out and read how to play football, that's how his teams play.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's the right way to play, by the way, because but he stuck to the letter of the law with how he wanted them to play. So probably them. From a proper bloke manager, and this is a different entity altogether. People who just said it who it was, who couldn't give a monkey's about what people thought about them, and who was successful in that own right, even though they weren't probably as respected as the suit wearing managers, the chiseled managers, the coaches, you know. Probably there's two spring to mind straight away who I've took traits off. Peter Dixon, West Auckland, you know. His dressing room had an us against the world mentality, and they were hated. But them stuck together, and they've got the 2 FA Vars finals, and they've done very, very well, you know. And because of all that sort of knit and close and would die for the bloke, that's probably why he suffered his demise as a football manager, because that's how much we love playing on the bloke. And another one who I've got any amount of respect for, would never be me mate, but we had a conversation about a week before his tragic passing. Someone who always got results, managed the way he played, was well respected by his players, and his players always loyal to him, is probably, God rest his soul, Gary Pearson. You know, proper bloke, you know what I mean? Like one of the lads, not as raj as Peter, but not scared of no man, and didn't care what people thought about him, you know. The 2 people I've just mentioned didn't care how they won. It was like, just win. Doesn't matter how you get the win. If you've got to play it dirty, play it dirty. It's all about winning. But the prior ones that I mentioned, your Terry Mitchells, your Graham Fentons, is like probably, well, I'm not happy with how we played, even though we won, you know. We didn't control the ball. We didn't. I'm thinking, it's not me, you know. Just win it. It's nice to win with a bit finesse. But I listen to like interviews now of like young managers who are like UEFA, and I've got to put my head under a pillar sometimes. Like, one, total control of the game was a statement that I heard a couple of weeks back. Total control of the game. We drew 0-0, and I was thinking, how can he be in control of the game? No, at no point, and I have a rant at YouTube, you know, with Twitter. You're never in control of the football game when it's 0-0, because one moment Newcastle were in control against Crystal Palace, but if Nick Pope hadn't pulled up, I'd say you're never in control of the game, mate, unless you're winning 3-0, man. Stop reading textbooks, get your arse out the classroom, and be a proper bloke on the touchline, you know, and tell it how it is. You know, it's simple as that.
That's it, one of us. Number 3.
I need to wrap into
What's where would you say the most, like, going to every single ground you probably been to, like a lot of the Northern League, that ground that you just went into where you just couldn't pick up a win, didn't matter what you did, tactics you tried?
Benfield.
Oh, Benfield, yeah.
Newcastle, Benfield. Fuck me.
There's always one, isn't there?
Benfield. Without a shadow of a doubt, got Benfield in the FA Cup 2 years ago. I was like, fucked. You know, got beat on penalties, better side, you know. This year got beat 4-3 at Benfield. Benfield. Newcastle, Benfield. Didn't know what it is.
He's won that one then. Number 4, your best footballer moment so far?
Oh, I've had some belters going back to the promotion season when we won the league. We played Atherton away, and like I said, the Don of that area, undefeated. It was bigged up on the radio. It was all over Radio Manchester, and their manager Michael Clegg, who's now manager of Ashton United. Bigging up his team, you know, we've been undefeated, blah, 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 for so many games, and break a record at this level. And the radio presenter says, well, you're playing a team that's got the same record as you. And he didn't know that, you know, which I thought was a little bit narrow-minded. Yeah. You know, so that sort of got on me tits. And then we like sort of travelled down there, and like everyone was writing off on non-league zone. got any chance getting there, comfortable win, this, that, and t'other. And it was great. It was fuel for motivation. And I remember being on the bus going to the game, and Chris McCabe was me assistant manager stroke captain, right? And what a player he was. And he centre half rang in sick on the morning. He slipped on a leaf, Darryl, and couldn't travel, right? So the lads were battering, right? Fucking joking on you. So sitting on the bus, and the bus was rammed with same players at the back. The rest of it full of supporters, you know. Took about 30 odd down. It was great atmosphere. And everyone's expecting to get hammered. And I says, Taj, I need you to play. And he went, Collier, can I play? He went, because I've got a broken back. But that's why my back's knackered. My dad's on the bus. He says, my dad not let us play. I went, all right. So I left it at that, you know. Well, Taj is ex-military. So I knew for a fact I'd get him to play, which is like, so I'd done me main games on him. I says, right, Taj, I said, we need to pick a side, like, because obviously this is not with Darryl injured, you know. I says, what I need to do is, I says, I need 11 players who are going to, on a slopey pitch, muddy pitch, who are going to dig in the trenches. I says, oh, prepare to fight. I says, we need to go hand-to-hand combat and all that, you know. I says, what I need is a dog of war. I says, we've got dogs of war in this bus. He went, I'm fucking playing. I'm up for this. And I went, I thought you had a broken back. Fuck me back. He says, you're so ideal to me, you know. We went down, his dad was in the bar. And I went in the bar, and the team would come up on the telly. I'd like to scream where the two teams come up. That was raging. Can I play? He's got a broken back. And they'll come to the tunnel at this point, you know. And then we won the game 2-1. And the atmosphere before, during the game, what a game it was like the Battle of Atherton. And after one, we actually pulled it off. Couldn't believe it, you know. It was just, it was like I'd been injected with adrenaline.
Yeah.
Greatest ever victory. Greatest ever match. It was just great, you know. Obviously, other good footballing moments. Obviously, I get a buzz off it every year. Keeping Seaham up, you know. I get a buzz off that, but that's half glass full, half empty, because like I need to do a lot better. Like I did last year. It was a great season, but I don't think anything will come close to the dressing room I had and the football that was played when we won the league, and delivering a trophy and delivering me promise within 3 years to win the league, you know. And like I said earlier on, James, you doubt yourself as a young boy, you know. I was sort of 31-year-old and thinking, can I actually do this, you know?
Yeah.
And on the back of that, you get other clubs coming knocking for you, and I never took a bait, you know, but because I loved what I was doing. But that was a special season when the league was fantastic, you know, and I'll never forget the relief. I'll never forget the smiles on faces. And when I say smiles on faces, I'm on about committee men who are like.
It means that little bit more, doesn't it?
But not even we were no more, you know, like John Smith, who was chairman at the time, you know. You've got Gordon Hargreaves, who was a character. He's passed away, you know. You've got Macbeth, the chairman, who I tell you about, with the smoke coming out of his mouth. Reggie Atkinson, old Reggie, I used to go after the feet with face like the arse. He'd get his walking stick, which was ale inside, and whack us across the heat and say, get a pint, Jarrow. But obviously Jimmy Ferguson, you know, who discovered Stuart Downing and players like that, you know, Jordan Hugel. Great junior coach for the club and great committee man who built the clubhouse, you know. And it was great just seeing them just like buzzing. And that's what it's all about for me, you know. It's not about me. It's not been about me. It's about other people. It's about me players. It's about the people that support the club and that, you know. I'm just doing there, just playing Football Manager. I lived my little dream, you know.
Class one, isn't it? And finally, last question, which I think we've had a couple already, but funniest, you one funniest football moment that just sticks with you every time.
It'd be in his book and all, if he writes one. Lewis Wing, we played, and it was Easter, and I says to the players, 8 of the week's an Easter egg. I says, everyone bring a couple in at your can, or £1, £2. I says, bring an egg, get here on time, and we've got a big game. I says, I think we're playing Benetton Terriers. I says, got to win, like. I says, because Washington on my shirt tails. I says, but I want a fucking Easter egg. They're getting fined. So everyone comes in with a couple of eggs. There you go, because I've got this wall of Easter eggs in the clubhouse. Cheers, lads, champion. Need Louis Wing. So I text him, where are you? On my way. rings him. I'm on my way, man. I went, all right, aye. So anyway, he comes in, right? I says, where's your fucking egg? Goes in his tracksuit pocket and gives us a Cadbury's cream egg, right? I says, what's that? He said, it's a chocolate egg. That's what you've asked for. I went, no, that's not an Easter egg. He goes, Collie, an egg's an egg. I went, you're late now. I went, oh, I'm sorry. I goes, get yourself in there. So in the dressing room, I takes it, Cadbury's cream egg in to say, yeah, the committee. I said, see what you little prick has done. And they went, fucking out of order, you know, it's only a couple of quid. I says, probably picked up his ma's fridge. I says, yeah, Davey, hey, you got Monopoly? He went, in the house? I went, get up and get it. He went, oh, wait, Collie, man, I'm having a pint, man. I went, Davey, please. So he went, fucking what for? I says, please go and get it, like, you know, it's important. So anyway, he finishes his pint, he comes back, he looked like a cool man. He's got fucking shut out his face, up his arms and all that, you know, you fucking bastard, what do you want that for? So I found out what he was on. I got his packet, I put it in the inside pocket of his wages. I got an envelope and a new sticker, and I got the Monopoly money, what he was on. I stuck it in the envelope. He was going to a rave that night. So I paid out every time he had gone to a rave, get his packet and fuck off. So he did. He went in I guess we were sitting in the clubhouse, me and Dean and that, you know, the lads, you know, Davey Palmer and all that, and put him on speakerphone. He went, Collie, hanging up on him on purpose. You know, tell Collie to answer his phone. Oh, he's on your line, Louis. Really, you know, I'd give his wages to his dad, but his dad was in on it. And anyway, I goes, what's up, Louis, man? He goes, Collie. He goes, something the matter? I've opened my fucking packet and there's paper money in it. Like, I go, money is paper. He says, no, it's got Monopoly written on it. I went, well, it's money. He went, that's not money. I went, now an egg's an egg. Fucking money's money. I went, don't ever take the fucking piss out of me again. I'm going to it. So I hung up on him. And 5 minutes later, I rang him. I said, Dad's got the packet. Let that be a lesson to you. He was nearly crying. He says, you horrible bastard. I says, well, don't take the piss, Louis. You know, but I thought he was skinned, thought he couldn't go to his rave, you know.
A class one.
It's massive lesson, you know. Bella.
Oh, class one. Great way to finish as well. Honestly, Mark, thank you so much for coming out tonight. Nice comment in there of Tony. Could listen all night this crack, and I think it just honestly shows kind of this, what we're putting out at the minute of the episodes. Like I say, we have chairmen coming on, managers, players. And it's just great to hear these stories. And a lot of people love listening to, like, especially the non-league, which is it's special to so many people, man, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It is. And, you know, the biggest thing it's dying out now is, and just, I mean, I just need to suspect them. There's proper blokes, you know, like proper, not qualified. You know, like, you know now where people are gifted jobs on their qualification. They should start lower down in the Northern Alliance or the Wearside Development League. And do it from scratch and work our way up. And clubs should take a punt on these young up-and-coming managers instead of going appointing an ex-pro or an ex-good player. Just because you're an ex-player or an ex-pro doesn't mean you're going to be a good manager. It means you're going to probably have an ego and a chip on his shoulder and be a bell end. You know, like, get them from the lower leagues where these people have identified and spoke to younger players and are prepared to give younger players a chance at a decent standard. And my message would be, if there's a young player out there, it doesn't matter how young he is, if he's good enough, play him.
Right.
Sink or swim, you know, and stick by him. And we've done it for years and I mean, don't get us wrong, we've had our fingers burnt, but I like to think that we've developed the best young players in the Northern League over the last sort of like 9 years. Some of the players that's come out with Seaham Red Star that we've signed on the lower leagues have been phenomenal. And I just wish more clubs would do it instead of going down the financial route of,
you
know, people say to me, it's hard to manage with money. Is it? Try and manage with out. And I was harder. It's hard to live with money, you know, it's hard to pay your bills with money. No, it's not fucking easy. It's easy. Anybody can get money and buy the best players, and you don't need a manager, you know, but try doing it, because the key to being a successful manager is survival. And how long can you survive in that role? You know, and I firmly believe that. But I just hope it doesn't go stupid, and I hope the youngins in the future aren't motivated by cash only. I hope they're motivated by myself and playing high on their own merit.
Definitely. We really hope so. Again, as well, massive thank you to our sponsors, everyone that's supporting us. Like you say, the amount of people that's been watching tonight, it's absolutely fantastic. Thursday night, we've got our heat and stand special with Scott Linden coming on.
speaking about the club. And then obviously next Sunday, 7:45, Leon Ryan coming on, which going through the list of trophies, honours, medals that he's got. We could be here all night talking with Leon. Absolutely fantastic bloke as well. So can't wait for that one next Sunday. But again, everybody that's watched throughout the night, honestly, thank you so much for your support. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe as well. Hopefully we'll see you back with some more of the shows that's coming up with Mark. Again, thank you so much for your time this evening.
No problem. It's been a pleasure, James. I've enjoyed it actually, mate.